The summer special term is starting, summer school is starting, and a lot of them may be asking, how do I get started? You know, I've been like hitting this block and I want to get started. How do I get started writing if I just have like a couple of simple notes in my head, or not even simple notes in my head? How can I get started? How can I make it sound interesting? So I'm going to share a process, and this process for kickstarting ideas is something that will hopefully give you some ideas to get moving on your get started. And if you want to get a copy of the Ableton Live project, you can just go over to Pop Studio DJ School Facebook page, Pop Studio DJ School, and later on I'll put a link in the chat. And if you send me a message there, I'll give you a copy of this Ableton Live project file. So you don't have to worry about remembering what you see here, because it might go pretty fast, but you can get a free copy of this live project file. So let's work with something in the more synthwave kind of genre, which is what I like. And let's start with just a simple beat. And so we are here, and I'm going to do something in a bit of a synthwave, synth pop kind of feel. And I'm starting out with just a very simple, I'll quieten all the other tracks, just a simple drum beat. And everything that I'm doing can be done in Ableton Live Intro or Ableton Live Lite. And so this is really meant for somebody who's coming in right from the ground floor, not complicated, not really difficult, and to try and make it interesting. So we build up a simple beat where the kick is on every 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, and you have clap and snare on the alternate, and you have the hi-hat every other beat. So it sounds like, let me highlight this and loop it with the loop button, and I just play it. This is a stock standard beat. There is nothing really interesting about this. Let me just put it out there. So we're going to have to figure out what can we do with this beat that could make it a little more interesting. So first of all, that hi-hat is just going on and on and on. Okay. I'm going to take an effect which is available in any version of Live called the delay. I'm on my drum rack. I'm going to click on the hi-hat. It's this one, right? Let's have a look. Yep, that's the one that lights up. Hi-hat closed. Click on it. I'm going to drag the delay. But if I drag the delay at the end of the drum kit, the whole thing sounds like a mess. Now that could be interesting if you use it once in a while. I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to drag the delay a little bit to the left and into this little gap here, right next to the hi-hat. And if I do this, then only the hi-hat gets delayed. So now you hear that the hi-hat has a little more interest in it with. And these numbers show how many 16ths the repeat is happening. If I unlink them, then I can have some which are 4/16ths, some which are 3/16ths. Some are 2/16ths. So immediately I've created some interest. I better have a look at the chat. Can people hear? Okay, so this is meant to make it straight away a little bit interesting. And when we look at delay, there's feedback, which is the number of echoes that I hear. too many. That's about nice. So if I look back at the clip, it's still the same. Every other beat, I've got a hi-hat. But now the hi-hat sounds a little more interesting just because I added delay. I could also add delay to the snare. Snare is simple snare. Add a delay to it. This time I won't have so much feedback. I won't have so many echoes. And so that's also another interesting effect that you can have. You can hear the if you change the feedback, you get a different effect every time. So this is just using delay. Now, you remember what happened when so I've got one delay that's purely on the snare, one delay that's purely on the hi-hat. So remember there was a way when I put the delay on the whole thing, but I don't necessarily want it to happen all the time. So I'm going to have to use automation. In order to switch on automation, I need to press the automation button here, right just above there. It turns blue. And now when I open up the track, I see delay and I can choose device on or device off. You see that red line there, the dotted line, it's on or off. So I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can see it a bit more. And this has stretched on for 8 bars. I just want the last bar to have delay. So let me have it off by default. So this delay is the delay on the whole thing, right? Okay, so it's off by default. I'm going to double click. At the 8th bar, I've made a little circle there. It's called a node. I'll make another one right to the side, then I'll pull it up, and there we go, it's on. Then at the end, I'll make another couple of notes to put it off. So what does it sound like when we reach the 8th bar? Okay, we're coming up. Watch it. So when we hit the 8th bar, we've actually got a whole fill, right? Let's listen to the 7th bar just before that, plain. Without having to do any additional programming, the delay has created a drum fill for me. So that's a way to get an idea. Okay, but that's just your beat. It's literally beat making. The next thing I wanted to add on was a bass line. And I added in like the most simple bass line, right? It's not even a bass line. It's, strictly speaking, it's just a bass note. So if and I'm using a sounds from the Singularities pack. Let me open in the browser at the side, pack, Singularities. The Singularities pack, I like it a lot because it's got the kind of retro synthwave sounds I like. And it's actually free for all Ableton Live users. All the way to Ableton Live Intro, Ableton Live Lite, you can download this for free. And since Ableton has made it available, you have access to all of these sounds. So here I've taken in a synth bass called the Retro Believer Bass. Right. And I just drew in a simple A and C and D. It can be anything, right? Let me switch on the track. Okay. Really not interesting. How am I going to make it play a bass line? Aha. Arpeggiator. Arpeggiator is one of those MIDI effects, which is available in all versions of Ableton Live. So I drag it onto my bass track, track number 2, and let's hear what I've got. Instant synthwave bass line. But this is going to get boring after a while, right? So I need to do something with this bass line. What could I do? Maybe I'm going to add in some delay as well. So I put delay, I drag a delay onto the track. And now that we've got a delay on the track, let's hear what it sounds like. Okay, less feedback. Less dry wet. So maybe I don't want to hear it. I can change the number of echoes, the speed of echoes. And this number is how many 16s, right? Every 5/16 I get an echo. Without the delay it would sound like this. With the delay it sounds like this. Okay, I got a beat, I got a basic bass line, and thought, okay, what else can I do? I need more than that. Now, this is synthwave. So I need something like an arpeggiator. How am I going to build an arpeggiator? Well, I have a very basic arpeggiator that's just going bum, 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 bum. I copy this and I paste it into a brand new track, and I load up one of the other sounds in the pack called the synth keys, the Logan synth keys. So this track, if I just play it by itself, let me hide the stuff that I used. It just sounds like this. Now you know that if I put in an arpeggiator, you already know what it sounds like. It sounds like the bass line. I don't want to have that. So I'm going to put something else, another MIDI effect called a chord. So let's try something like major tom, minor tip. You want it happy, you want it sad. Now, if this is moving really fast, don't worry, because like Orville said, you can watch this again in the Ableton User Group Chicago Facebook page. And if you don't have the time to rebuild all of this, you just need to find me on the Pop Studio DJ School Facebook page, send me a message, and I'll send you this Ableton Live project file. So by adding this chord, it's now playing additional notes. It's playing an additional notes that make up a chord. Now, if I want to make it sound less dissonant or clashing, I'll add in one more thing to it, which is a scale. And I'm going to add in a scale, a minor scale, so that every note that it plays will be within the chord, the scale that I want. Okay, now this was going to be a bass C. I'm going to actually put in bass A because I started with the A, right? A instead of C minor, it'll be A minor. Let's see. What can I do next? I've got it to play a notes, but the sound of it is kind of basic. Maybe I'll throw in my favorite effect again, delay. See what it sounds like. Okay, I think it sounds more complex now. I chose a 3 and a 5. And because this is Arpeggiator, right? I'm going to have to do more than that. I'm going to have to add in one more thing, which is the autofilter. Autofilter is another very basic effect that is available and in all versions of Ableton Live. And if you want to hear what it sounds like, that's if I move it up manually. But you know, I'm trying to write a song. I'm trying to write a beat. I don't want to have to sit there and move it manually. So the good news is there's this thing called the Lfo Low Frequency Oscillator, which is a fancy way of saying that it's going to make the thing change for me. So I'm going to turn up the Lfo amount. I'm just going up to about just below 20. Setting the rate, I've set this little music note thing so that it will change every bar, which is 1:1. And let's see what I get. I need to turn up the resonance. So you can hear that it's moving, right? Let's solo it. It's going up and down in a very regular shape. What if I didn't want this shape? What if I wanted something a little more random? If I turn up the resonance a bit, so very simple. Last thing, let's put on a lead sound, okay? Because we need a lead sound. Again, I just have these 3 notes. So I copy them and I paste them into track number 4. And now I got to figure out what do I do with them. Let me hide these things which I've done. Oh, you saw a bit of my secret sauce, which you're going to see. Okay, so this is a very basic, and I've used a synth lead sound from the packs, which is called the radio lead. Very simple. So, but there's too much synthwave going on where it's just holding on a bomb and then like, oh, okay, great. Thank you for playing this sustained chord for 8 bars. Can I have something different, please? So let's put in the other stuff which we had, which is the chord, right? We put in a minor tim, and we also put in a arpeggiator. This time I'll do bouncy chords. There's some defaults. What do I get this time? Let's put in also a scale. Remember, I put in a scale and I made sure that the bass was A. I just want to show this last thing before we go. But having a lead like that go on and on and on is going to drive you crazy. So I go to beat repeat. Okay, so this one, beat repeat, is an effect which is in the Ableton Live suite. Because what does the beat repeat do? Well, spoiler, it repeats beats. And I'm going to offset when the repeating starts. I'm offsetting it here by 3/16. And I'm going to set it to a grid which is not 16s. I'm going to set it to 12s and see what we get, right? Maybe add a bit of variation. And then so that's if I put mix, that means I'm hearing the repetition at the same time. But if I switch to insert, and on top of that, I throw on a delay. Make this interval 2 bars. And that is how I've built up a very basic beat using just 3 notes and a stock simple drum beat and effects and audio effects and MIDI effects, which are all available in Ableton Live, all the way down to Ableton Live Intro and Ableton Live Lite, and using sounds from the free Singularities pack, which is available to all Ableton Live users. And that's my little intro. I hope it gives you some ideas of how you can kickstart your process. This might not be the style that you want, might not be the genre that you want, but hopefully gives you some ideas of what you can do for yourself.